if I told you that peace is not always peaceful? That silence can be more violent than war and conflict? What if I told you that conflict can be sometimes peaceful? What if peace is not found in silence, but in speaking truth, in courage to fight for what is right? What if peace is found in the presence of justice? But then, what if justice ignites new conflicts? We crave peace, we demand justice, but do we truly understand the nature and the cost of either? Through my work as a peace negotiator and a peace mediator over more than a decade, I've learned that peace is not passive, it's active. It can even be disruptive, challenges the status quo, and that true justice doesn't just punish, it restores, rebuilds, and redefines. So the question isn't true peace or justice, but whose peace, whose justice, who gets to define, and how. My journey has been one of continuous learning and transformation. From studying history, mysticism, metaphysics, to becoming a peace activist, a human rights defender, and eventually working in the field of mediation. It was a journey that has often felt paradoxical, where idealism clashes with harsh realities. I once immersed myself in the study of philosophical schools of divine reality, divine order, philosophical schools on divine masculine and feminine qualities, yin and yang. But then, as I witnessed my homeland at the crossroads, I not only felt that I had to choose action, but I found myself compelled into it. I found myself stepping into a world of paradoxes, chaos, and ethical dilemmas. For years, I've studied the metaphysics of compassion, but then I joined with other forces what was called the Days of Rage at the first of the Arab Spring. During that time, my ideals were truly tested. For moments, I faltered. For moments, I doubted. And other moments, I triumphed. At first, rage felt like an undeniable catalyst for change. As time passed, I began to question its endurance. What first united us began to fracture. The fire of the revolution, once a beacon of liberation, has become or began to fuel more cycles, to consume itself and fuel more cycles of division and violence. Then 2014 came. Libya already on the verge or the brink of a civil war. Libya at that time started to see its hopes for democracy and peace grow distant. On the day of the last general elections we had, my friend Salwa Bougaghis, a human rights activist and a peace activist, was assassinated in Benghazi. Only 3 weeks later, another incredible soul, Fariha al-Birkawi, was assassinated in her hometown, Derna. The pain that followed their assassination extended beyond the loss of friends. It was a brutal warning to anyone who dared to challenge oppression and call for peace. Ever since, my journey has been one of transformation. From a fervent revolutionary of the Arab Spring to someone who was disillusioned by its aftermath, from demanding change through protest to seeking reconciliation through dialogue and creative approaches to justice and peace. Along the way, I turned to history and to our local tradition and to the lived experiences of those who have faced the same dilemma. How do we fight and resist oppression? How do we pursue justice without becoming what we fought against? How did other leaders before us, or even now, have walked the tightrope of peace and justice? History, and our local tradition in this region offers us with diverse examples of those who managed. Amir Abdul Qadir al-Jazairi is one incredible example who fought oppression, pursued justice with integrity and compassion. A warrior resisting colonial oppression, and a protector of those who did not even share his faith nor his cause. During his forced exile to Damascus, when the Christian minorities, communities were under attack, he risked his own standing to shield them, proving that true justice safeguards the dignity not only of its allies, but of all. He understood that resistance is not about destruction, but about preserving the moral fabric of society even at its darkest moments. He showed that strength is not in fiercely fighting, but in fiercely upholding humanity, even when rage feels justified. He was called Amir al-Futuwa, the prince of spiritual chivalry, because he not only mastered the battlefield, but his own rage. The closest I witnessed the example of the compassionate pursuit of justice as shown in Amir Abdul Qadir al-Jazairi is the work of traditional local women mediators in conflict zones, often mothers of abductees, tribal sheikhas, and nurse mediators working in hospitals under attack and threat. Their legitimacy is not based on their political or religious affiliation, but on their reputation for selflessness and virtue. And it's basically the way they pursue justice and peace in their local communities. They listen with empathy to the grievances of the victims. They understand the needs and the priorities of local communities. They treat all and respect all as equal, regardless of their religious or political affiliation. And most importantly, they center the protection of human life. A great example who is invisible in our world, who exists in a city in South Libya, Aisha al-Bakush, who, when I even talked with her, didn't realize that she is a mediator in her own right. She's a nurse mediator, found herself mediating between militias, and she actually succeeded in brokering an agreement between militias to get them to agree to respect not attacking hospitals and medical centers. So what are the lessons learned? First, inclusivity is central. Making sure that our peace processes are genuinely inclusive, are meaningfully participatory, valuing all voices regardless of their gender, ethnicity, political, religious affiliation, adopting a bottom-up approach that ensures that the local needs and priorities shape a just resolution of the conflict. Integrating restorative and tributive justice mechanisms, making sure that we're not focusing on prosecution only, but also we're embracing other and including other mechanisms like truth commissions and reparations, making sure that we're balancing between accountability and healing, fostering social cohesion. Adopting innovative tools like storytelling. Storytelling humanizes justice, makes room for empathy, for mutual understanding, and creating trust among communities. Martin Luther King Jr. once said in a sermon that he gave back in 1956, titled, "When Peace Becomes Obnoxious." If peace means keeping my mouth shut in the midst of injustice and evil, I don't want it. If peace means being complacently adjusted to a deadening status quo, I don't want peace. If peace means the willingness of being economically exploited, politically dominated, segregated, and humiliated, I don't want peace. These powerful words urge us to reflect on the true nature of peace and justice. Peace isn't about silence and complacency. It's about addressing injustice, even if it disrupts the status quo. Justice, if pursued with compassion, does not ignite new conflicts. It creates pathways to reconciliation, to healing, fostering social cohesion, and most importantly, centering the voices of those most affected by the conflict, of those who have borne the brunt of injustice. By including these voices, it's only then we can reimagine a peace as a force that unites, not divides, and justice as a path to healing, not vengeance. May we always seek peace, not as silence, not as absence of conflict, but as presence of truth, empathy, mercy, and compassion. Thank you. Thank you.